Hey everybody, it's your girl Sherry. Welcome back to another episode of Alleged Actually Podcast. Today I am joined by my co-host, Big Nige, not the little one. What's up, Big Nige?
What's up, y'all? It's glad to be back. Took a little 3 week hiatus, so I'm back, ready to talk 90 Day Fiance with y'all.
All right. So yep, just like he said, today's the day, 90 Day Fiance The Other Way. We just came off of a finale episode. So it's been a fairly lengthy season. And so tonight we are going to wrap it up, and then we are looking forward to talking to you guys in the next couple weeks with the tell all that looks like it may be pretty good. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. Big Nige, overall, what did you think of the season?
I thought this season was pretty interesting. It just seemed like a lot of the couples weren't making very much progress throughout the
Mm-hmm.
season. You know, they did kind of wrap things up with this episode that passed just this Monday. And you kind of see those same issues still lingering on, but you see more action. We
Mm-hmm.
see these couples finally taking steps, especially on the days some of them got married, to finally address, like, all right, you know what, let me take accountability for my actions, let me fight for her like I haven't been fighting for her from episode one, like just things like that. And we'll get into those couples obviously that I'm referring to. But yeah, just seeing the action is probably the biggest takeaway from the season. You go from no action to finally showing some action at the very end.
I agree. For me, I would think, it didn't shape up like I had hoped. I had high hopes for the season in the beginning, particularly certain couples that kind of fell flat. But overall, I will say what I think, that 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, and actually all the franchises do well, is it gives us a glimpse into other cultures, other countries, and it's pretty fascinating. In these past few episodes, we got a chance to see a traditional Indonesian wedding, Chinese, some beautiful parts of Turkish culture. I mean, I have to say, for a person who admittedly is not well traveled, I'm getting there, but my passport doesn't have that many stamps on it yet. And this way I get to kind of vicariously try on different cultures and places, and it's been pretty cool. So kudos to 90 Day Fiance for giving us a glimpse into, we have to add Iceland in the mix too. I mean, that's somewhere they can keep, but at least I can say, living vicariously through Corona and Ingi, even got to see a little bit of Iceland. So there's that, guys. Overall, I think out of a 10 scale, I would give this season probably about a 6. It was season 6. I think that's fair. Nige, what number are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking I might go a little higher. I might go 6.5.
Yeah.
Won't go
Okay.
7, but I'll go 6.5.
All right. All right. Well, what we wanted to do tonight, y'all, is we wanted to give you guys the status on where the couples ended up as of the finale. For one couple, actually for a couple of couples, there's some tea that's been out there in those social media streets that I'm going to divulge tonight. We're going to start off with Statler and Dempsey. Basically, they were this season decided to throw caution to the wind. One, of course, that's her nature, being Dempsey. Statler being one that kind of went kicking and screaming, but her being the sucker for love that she is, decided to give it a chance, and soon came to find out the uncertainty of it, the lack of consistency of kind of living like nomads just didn't seem to work out so well for Statler, and indirectly it caused problems with the couple. So we leave them with episode 19, where they have made up from the whole fallout of the day that Statler was trying to get her computer to work so that she could do her working from the van. That is just the nature of the beast. She makes the money so she can keep them, financed, the van life financed. And it is Dempsey who was supposed to take care of the van life, making sure that Statler has what she needs to work. She does the cooking, kind of picks up the things they need. And that was the agreement. So we see in 19 where they made up and Statler decides to go on a romantic little trip with Dempsey, which makes her happy. But it's short lived because Statler brings up the fact that she would have liked to see her do more around the van. Dempsey thinks she's doing her fair share. Statler talks about how all she's ever wanted is to be loved, which we've known that all season. And ultimately, guys, we're not going to hold you. They leave us with uncertainty, saying, they're going to give the relationship another couple months and then make a decision. If things aren't improving, they're going to sell the van and go their separate ways. So, I don't know if you guys have seen the previews of the tell-all, but if you have, spoiler alert, notably, there was no Statler or Dempsey on the stage. Now, according to those social media streets, Statler has been, as the young folks would say, crashing out a bit. She has talked at length about her experience with TLC and with working with the network, and she has let us in that Dempsey, allegedly, is a cheater. So the day that Dempsey went out and about to pick up the items that Statler sent her on a run for, it was alleged that, and Dempsey decided while she was out, she was going to do something fun. Well, what we don't see and what is alleged, keep in mind, this is allegedly, Dempsey started to see one of the producers. Yes. And at this point, yeah, who knew, right?
What?
Allegedly. But we do know that she is in another relationship now, and Statler is also dating as well. So there's that, y'all. Yeah. And I can't say that I'm very much surprised. I don't think, since the two of them reconciled, or not, I won't say reconciled, since the two of them came back together with the idea of van life, their relationship just hasn't been on point. And I don't think that either of them were getting from the other what they were looking for. So, yeah, I probably should have left that for last. But yeah, I don't. That's a lot of tea to throw in there at the beginning of the episode, guys. I'm sorry, but there just wasn't anything on the last episode about them, and partially that is because the two of them were not getting along, and shortly after wrapping up, broke up. So, spoiler alert. Big Nige, what are your thoughts on that hot piping tea I just spilled?
Yeah, you just dropped a bombshell.
Mhm.
I'll try to make this quick. Does it surprise me that they broke things off? Not really, when you consider how different these two individuals are. Um, all the glitz and glamour, like the love that they had, it was kind of short lived. It was always overshadowed by the next big issue. The next big, as you pointed out, Statler crash out in the fall, and then fall back on Dempsey. They're just two different people. They want two different things in life, and it's unfortunate because they tried to give it a go. A lot of money was invested, a lot of time lost, but I mean, I guess it could have been worse. Now, all the alleged stuff about the scandals and cheating and all that stuff, I mean, hopefully it's not true, but if they've moved on, and I guess it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, they found somebody else that hopefully they're more compatible with. Hopefully Dempsey finds that free spirit person that she needs, and Statler finds someone with some structure and, planning mindset just like her. So hopefully it all worked out in the end for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we can hope for. Like I said at the beginning of this recapping season, that they were the couple that I was gunning for and, was most excited to watch. And yet, sadly, that was their fate. But again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. It was nice to watch their love story unfold. And sadly, that's just the way it goes sometimes. It doesn't always work. So we are now going to move on to Joanne and Sean. So Big Nige, not a whole lot with them either that has changed, but I definitely wanted to hop in there from my mom's perspective still. But what are your thoughts on Joanne and Sean?
Yeah, so for Joanne and Sean, they kind of wrap things up with them, the fallout. Like they pretty much brought up, Joanne finally has the conversation with her son, Joey. Um, and because of that, she kind of gets right into it and it's like, so I need your answer, how do you feel about me, staying? And he broke it down to her. He was like, I want you to be happy, but at the same time, I'd prefer not to have my mom in another country.
Hmm.
Broke it down to him, broke it down to her straight like that. And because of that, as a mother, she was like, okay, I hear you. Consider it done. Right. And so we take that, we go to a little dinner with Joanne and Sean, and he kind of just she breaks the news to him. He's clearly upset, not really going for it, you know. But at the end of the day, we get to see we got to see Sean's side of things in terms of like, he's kind of maybe not the perfect guy we thought. And this is the couple that I've been rooting for,
Yeah.
and we'll see more in the tell all. But he was not thrilled with potentially 6 more years of long distance. He got very comfortable and very very used to having her around. So the fact
Mhm.
that you have to now like, hey, you're going to leave and I don't know when I'm going to see you again, nobody wants to hear that. Saying he could potentially only see his wife 4 to 5 times a year. If you're married, obviously you don't want to see your partner only 4 or 5 times a year. Like that's agonizing. So that pretty much wraps up for them. What does their future look like? I guess we'll again see in the tell all. We seen more of Sean's fiery side in that tell all in that preview when he was
We do.
talking that spicy stuff to another
Ingy.
individual,
Mm.
Ingi. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes with them. I'm still rooting for them. Hopefully they can find some kind of compromise with the kids involved, obviously, because they're my favorite couple.
Same. I think, yeah, watching them come together, I agree with you, Big Nige. I mean, I said Statler and Dempsey, that was coming in, but as I got into the episode, it was Joanne and Sean that I really felt like I agree had the biggest shot, and still pulling for them. She didn't do things right, neither of them did. I'm not, you know, gonna hold y'all with this one either. Just as a mom, it still blew me away that the one thing that ultimately made her decide not to should have been the first thing that she considered in the first place, which are her children. And so, you know, I guess hindsight is 2020, as they say, but it simply was out of order. It made no sense. And if it was going to circle right back to that anyway, then they should have been brought in the beginning. And maybe some of this would have been not an issue. But I digress. Looking forward to see more of that couple at the tell-all. So you guys make sure you tune in and then come back next week to hear what we have to say about that. So now, y'all, we're going to move on over to Corona and Ingi. Much more similar to the aforementioned two couples. There's not a whole lot more either with them that has changed. I think it becomes clear with Corona that Ingi is in no rush, if ever, to get married. And she has to make a decision about midwifery. I say midwife, but midwifery, who knew? School. Um, she is so close to reaching her goal and was willing to make the sacrifice had it been that he was ready to take the next step and get married. She didn't do her due diligence there, but I actually have some tea there too. Actually, though, you're going to have to stay tuned and watch this episode to its conclusion before I drop that tea on them. Um, but as it, you won't want to miss this, guy. So hang in there with me. As it unfolds, they do go to the glaciers and have a really nice outing. She does tell him still her concerns. Um, and he lets her know, look, for him, He's had friends that have been in relationships for 8, 9 years, and there was no talk of marriage, engagement, or anything, and it seemed to work fine for them. But that is, we all know, not what Corona wants. And when she does bring the information to him that she may have to go back to the US to go to midwifery school, I'm sorry, it's just weird. That it could be 2 years or so that she would be dedicated to her studies, that she wouldn't know when she came back to Iceland, and he seemed pretty cool with that, because from his perspective, he loves her, and he'd make it work, minus the marriage and all of that. Just not where she wants, and it kinda leaves us with her still feeling like she has to make some tough decisions, and at this point, we don't know exactly what those decisions are. Did you have anything you wanna add to Corona and Ingi Big Nige?
Only thing I like to add really is like it kind of started off like Angie did kind of like start off kind of nonchalant when she brought that information to him, about the whole like marriage, like this is where I'm at with it. You're in no rush. You could see kind of continued like compromise, Angie, and then after that compromise, you could see Angie kind of getting a little bit more desperate. Like she was kind of like yeah, like you're giving me options to choose from, but like I'm more leaning to going back to the United States. And once she said that, Angie was more like, I'd like for you to be here. You're my person. I love
Mhm.
you. Kind of saying all the things that, like she said in the episode, if he would have came out with that energy,
Yeah,
maybe things wouldn't be like this. Maybe I wouldn't be considering going back to the States. Um, so it's just another painful lesson to all the men out there. Y'all have to come with your best foot forward. You can't
that's right.
wait for your woman to demand certain things from you when you know that those things should have already been right at the door. So, just like how Sarper, and we'll get into them later, he wanted to change script after Shekinah was about ready to walk out the door. Ingy's doing the same thing. His woman's about to walk out the door, and now he's giving her the attention that she's so desperately coveted. Talking about, yeah, she wants to get married. She made it a priority, so now we're going to get married. It's just all those things you just don't want to keep waiting on. You need to come with it first. That's my biggest takeaway from this couple, and we'll see because there's a lot of stuff going on at that tell-all. So we'll see
There
if
really is.
Ingy does right by her.
Yes, we'll have to tune in and see. Our next couple that we are going to talk about is we're gonna go with Lily and Josh. I was so disappointed in both of them on the finale, and I'm gonna tell you why. We know that they have been planning for a Chinese wedding, a traditional wedding, and this has been their talk for several of the episodes. We know that Lily has made it clear that money has been an issue, as far as she has spared no expense to make sure that he's been comfortable and that he knows that she loves him. And in the same breath, I think that she would have loved to have seen more appreciation from him. And we talked about that, different love languages and communication being an issue with them, and language barrier as well. But on this episode, as we're getting to the venue and they're getting ready for this beautiful ceremony, let me just say the venue was stunning. Their wedding garb was stunning, just top tier. And then they get there and they still owe $5,000. Josh has the nerve to come not prepared to pay. He has a multitude of excuses, and this went from 2 episodes ago and wraps up at the finale. And Lily is basically like, look, he said he's going to try his credit cards. And she's like, okay, like because she asked him, what's worst case scenario? He comes in and says, look, what can we get for what we've already paid for? And they're like, it doesn't work that way. You have to pay the full thing. We don't give you a piece of it based off of the fact that you now can't pay us in full. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in the States either, by the way, guys. Um, but in the same breath, uh, Lily is like, okay. He's like, well, I have some credit cards I can try. And she's like, okay, try. She's like, otherwise, we may have to call this wedding off. And, card after card doesn't go through. Where I was so disappointed, I was disappointed in him because I can't believe to me, and y'all, I mean, y'all weigh in, slide in the comments and let me know what you thought. I want you to do that about each couple, by the way. What do you think about the season, each couple as we're going through? Let us know. But where I was really like conflicted was if I was her, I would have called his bluff and said no. Instead, she does yet again, figures a way to pay it and goes forward, and they do have the ceremony, and it seems like all is well. But is it? It's very, very, very off-putting to me. And yes, we know his situation. Yes, we knew that when he came to China, he could not work. But the traditional wedding was planned. So whatever he was doing before he came, I mean, I don't know. It just started to me, and maybe it's me. Maybe it's me being a woman and my own ideas of roles in relationships too. Maybe I'm guilty of what Lily's guilty of. I don't know, but I'm so turned off by how it ended, how he did not come through once again. I think he had ample time to make sure before he came that he could secure at least helping her take care of this wedding. What did you think, Big Nige?
Yeah, one thing for sure, death, taxes, and Josh not coming through when you need him the most. I mean,
Mean, right?
it's just he's quick to point the finger, he's quick to play the blame game, but when it's time for him to take accountability throughout this season, he just has not stepped up to the plate. Um, and she talked about him not fulfilling his husband duties, and I mean, in every aspect, he just not has fulfilled his husband duties. There's really no way around it. There's no justification for Josh's actions. He's been pretty bad this season. The only bright spot I'll give him is at the end of the wedding when they were sitting at the table for the reception. Um, he apologizes to her daughter
Hmm.
and acknowledges his part. He said he's not a fan of some of the things he's done. He then kind of retracts that good thing he did by saying, we're willing to take this next step, and this is to the confessional, not at the table. But he goes and says, I'm admitting all my faults. I'm gonna need Lily to do the same if we're gonna have a successful future together. And I just thought, why didn't you just stop right there? You didn't need to say that part. Maybe you were thinking it, and that's fine, but you shouldn't have said it because now, again, you just wiped off the one good spot that you would have had for this season, and then just kind of
Yeah,
deflects right on back to Lily. So um,
absolutely.
it was good to at least get an apology for her daughter, and she even tells him to kiss in front of them because, again, I think according to Josh, they said that in the ceremony they weren't allowed to kiss in front of everybody. Not sure that might be true. Whatever the case may be, he gives her a kiss. It really ends on a high note, but
It
like
does.
you said, is it really a high note if no issue is getting addressed? Sure, he took accountability this time, even though it was kind of halfway, but sure. I just don't. I'm not feeling good. Not feeling good about their financial status. Not feeling good about the communication.
No,
I'm just not feeling good about this couple in general.
no, no. And we'll get a chance to see where they are at the tell all. Um, I'm definitely tuning in. I really want to see now that they've had a chance to kind of watch some of this stuff back where they're at and are they actually even still together. So just have to tune in and find out. And we'll be back next week to discuss it. So with that, we're going to go to Shekinah and Sarper, and then we're going to close it out with Tata and James. So, Big Nige, I'm going to let you kick us off with Shekinah and Sarper.
Yeah. So what they did for this episode, and hey, I got to give my boy Sarp some credit, man.
Me
He
too.
showed out. I
Most
mean,
improved.
that boat that boat date that he planned for her, hey man, I'm taking notes in my pen and paper too. Like that
Yes,
was that was beautiful, that was genius. The execution, all of it was phenomenal. um they got all dressed up, it was nice. He was just giving her all these compliments, saying how beautiful she is, all these things. It was great. Then they get out and they go and look at the bridge, and of course, they're just talking about all the things they've worked through, and then he proposes to her, and he does it in a funny way because he's like, "Marry me, marry me, marry me." It was not
No,
a
he says,
question.
"I will marry you." That was his
Yeah,
words.
yeah, I will marry you. And he was, and she, it was like this weird thing because it's like it was not a question, it was a declaration. Those are Sarper's words in
Yeah.
typical Sarper fashion.
Mhm.
So it was beautiful to see. We do also get to see, after the ceremony, where they kind of have you have Sarper's family. He breaks the news to them that he did get approved. The K-1 visa process did get approved in the States for him to come over. Um, so that was obviously great news from Shekinah, and she was on cloud nine ever since the episode started because of that news. But we understand that Sarper doesn't want to go to the States. He preferred them to be in Turkey. Now, the only gripe I have with Sarper is that he's trying to justify, if I marry her in Turkey, she'll feel, happy and secure enough that she'll want to stay in Turkey as opposed to going to the States. That's a big question with this couple. Is she going to be, are they going to find some common ground between Turkey and the States? Where are they going to go? But we understand that Sarper's family loves Shekinah, wants them to be in Turkey, whereas Shekinah's family doesn't really support the relationship. And she has a daughter in the States as well, so we can't ignore that. But that's pretty much where we left off. It was in great spirits, dancing, love was in the air, everything. But that question is still up in the air. Are they going to stay in Turkey? Are they going to be in the States? And are they both going to be okay with whatever outcome?
Yeah, agreed. I also heard a little tea there too, but I think for them, I guess I'll spill it at the end too, guys. But my biggest takeaways. Oh no, nothing bad.
Okay.
Just the
Okay.
status.
I
What?
was
No,
just
no,
saying
no,
you.
no, no, no. I don't want to break your heart again. No. No. Location. What I loved that Sarper has evolved right before our eyes in this season. It was very um endearing to watch him find his softer side and admit he loves this woman and the changes that he's made um to make sure that she knew what she meant to him and that he wanted to make her his wife. Thing is, the whole proposal and the Turkish wedding thing is his ploy to keep her in Turkey. Eh, which, yeah. But what I will say is, I really feel like, and a lot of times people say, well, what you see, don't be deceived. I really felt like we really watched him truly transform before our eyes. And the little tea we did catch that he'd been married before. I thought that was interesting. More of a prearranged type situation, but that he'd actually been married. To my knowledge, that hadn't come out before that I know of, and so that was interesting. But one thing I think that the two of them are definitely going to stay together. Um, Location though. I'll go ahead and spill, y'all. Why not? So he was spotted in LA in a gym working out. Now, that doesn't mean that he's in the States to stay, but it does mean that he is in the States. So, am I surprised? No, because I feel like my girl Shekinah is going to get her way. So, there's that. But again, we're going to have to tune into the tell all just to see truly where they are right now and kind of what's going on with them. So, we're going to close tonight with depends on who you are, fan favorites, fans headaches, fans aggravation, James and Tata. Listen, one thing's for sure, guys. Tata, you are an absolute doll baby, adorable, but that crying, I think I can speak for us all when I say I will not miss that. Okay. You all know they had their Indonesian wedding, which again, I thought was really cool to see their wedding attire was really cool. Some of their traditions, her makeup, the nails. What was the that was anyway, um, all a part of the cultural type thing. I don't know. I find it fascinating. I've always kind of escaped my regular life through TV as a little girl. That's kind of how I traveled in my head or experienced things because from a very small town. So I really enjoy getting into these shows and getting a glimpse of, like I said, different cultures, different countries. I thought it was cool. But shortly after the wedding wasn't their happy ever after that they thought. The same issues were still there. Um, James was just like, "Look, it is not working. It's banana chips is not going to do it for us. There is no way that I can figure that I can take care of you here." And so the reality is, you know, I need to go back to the States. He wanted it to be they were going back to the States. And Tata really took a stance that, the only way that I will go back to the United States is if you sponsor my sister, Angel, because at least then I'll know that she'll be able to visit me. Well, there's so much, and we the intention of this episode tonight, actualizers, was to keep it as brief as we could so that we could really get in the meats and bones with the tell all. But I will say, she is so immature and so. I think that James, I don't know, being homesick is a real thing, y'all. I'm with it, and I know that she's the baby of the family. But to me, once you say "I do" to someone, it is you and your spouse. I really am thinking that James, once he goes back, I don't know. This is no tea. This is my Sherry's opinion, but I don't see how it's going to work. And the fact that she's leveraging, "You will bring my sister." I mean, if y'all saw the previews, you see that they are in fact still together, and that he is sponsoring Angel to come over to the United States, which is a freaking shame. Um, I'd like to see James grow more of a backbone, and I mean, I was proud of him for drawing a line in the sand when it just absolutely was not working, and saying, "I've got to go back." And at this point, y'all, he's going back to the States with nothing. He's going to have to basically beg his parents to see if he can even work for them again and just start over, rebuild. It's what you do for love, right? But I find her to be, and she's getting a lot of backlash in the social media streets. Fans of 90 Day are sick of Tata. My stance is that she just simply needs to grow up. If she loves her husband, you knew when you married him that he was the United States. I don't think they initially got married under the premise that they were going to live in Indonesia. So visiting, making time to make sure she gets a chance to see her family. But, and then the whole child thing. But I think it all boils down to me, she needs to do some growing up. I mean, and he does too. So I'm not absolving him of his part in the fact that, his communication's bad. He did not live up to the deals that he made with her father. He's been dishonest, or for better lack of better terms, he hasn't been as forthcoming as he should have been on how he was truly feeling. And the way that he feels, to me, is odd. It would have been something they should have talked about. And if that's the way he felt, he should have stood on business before they said "I do." I don't know. I could ramble, but I'm not. So, Big Nige, your thoughts on James and Tata?
James and Tata throughout this season, honestly, it's been pretty nauseating listening to them. Like, the issues that they have are so trivial. Like, and the hate that Tata gets, maybe she doesn't need, maybe it isn't deserved, maybe it is, but the crying, the complaining, the "you're going to sponsor my sister if I'm going to come back," like, it's just a whole lot of stuff that's just like, come on, dude. Like, what are we? Are we grown-ups or are we kids? Like, and James he's not devoid of any of this either, because especially with him, it's like I'm gonna tell the truth, but I'm gonna tell half the truth, and then I'm gonna tell the other half of the truth later. It's just a lot of stuff that could be avoided. People just take accountability. If people had proper planning skills, communication skills. I mean, he promised her dad three things. That was a kid, take care of my daughter, and then what was the third one? Shoot, I was just thinking about it in my head, but whatever the case it was, oh, learn the language. Learn the
Oh,
language.
yeah, yeah.
He didn't do any of the well, he
He's
was
trying to take
taking
care of
care of
his yeah, he was taking care of her.
and so he was taking care of her in the States. He could not do that. The only thing that what he could do when they moved to Indonesia. So he couldn't do any of those three things. And so he decided to go back. I don't think it was a bad idea for them to go back. They weren't making any money anyway. They were just mooching off her parents, and
Mhm.
they had to listen to them talk about mooching off their parents. So like, yeah, as a grown man, someone who values their wife and their standing in the relationship, like, yeah, you don't want to live under somebody else's roof and be constantly reminded, yeah, you need to help out. This is Tata telling them, you need to help. You need to do this. You need to do that. We can't contribute. And you're telling her the whole time, like, I can't do anything here. Like, if you want my honest opinion, we need to go back to the States where I can actually provide for you. But, James is the kind of guy, and it sucks, but, you can't stand for anything. You're going to fall for everything. And he's just continuing to
Absolutely.
get knocked down. Whatever Tata says goes because he has no backbone. He's a jellyfish. Um, and that's how it goes. Regardless of how much he puts his foot down and says, no, I'm not doing this. I don't trust your sister. She's not, she doesn't have our best interests. All she's going to do is put ideas in your head that you need to leave me or anything that's going to poison our relationship. And she's just kicking screams until he finally just gives in to her demands.
Yeah.
That's their relationship in a nutshell. And it's unfortunate, but it's just what it is.
It's
Nobody's
definitely
changing.
better. No, no. So y'all, I mean, that's pretty much where we are left with each couple as the season wrapped up with the finale. And now we are looking forward to, like we said, a two-part tell-all that will air on Monday coming up, the first part, and then the second part the following Monday. So we will be back next week to recap that. So I will leave you with the tea that I have on Ingi and Corona. Um, and this is allegedly as well, but there is a content creator. His name escapes me, but he does a lot of content on 90 Day. He is actually from the UK. He's a black dude, and it he does a lot of kind of expose, if you will, of TLC programming and other reality shows. I mean, and let's be clear, y'all, not to be deceived that reality TV is heavily produced sometimes. In this instance, what he alleges happened is that Ingi and Corona were, in fact, in a relationship that was mainly online. They did reach out to the show, and that Corona was not actually planning to actually marry him. It was an opportunity, this is alleged, for them to be on the show, and that Ingi broke their non-disclosure agreement and had a watch party in Iceland um, on the opening episodes of the season, and basically let the cat out of the bag. Now, that's the reality of some of this. I don't know if you guys caught my interview with Cynthia Decker that was on 90 Day Fiance. Several different shows throughout the franchise, Pillow Talk being her most notable, but she did make the comment that though some of them in the beginning are it's organic love stories, as they become famous, and in this case, Ingi and Corona were not, but with more and more fame that these shows get, there are people that want to be a part of it for the clout. And so there is that. Now, I can only say that they are at the tell all and are fulfilling their agreement. We will have to just tune in and see. But it is alleged that the seriousness, I will say, of their relationship is certainly in question. Your thoughts, Big Nige?
I mean, it would make sense considering how they interact with one another. Um, I I did not see that coming. I just thought they were just vastly different people just trying to make it work. But I mean, if it was allegedly fabricated, well, I guess you can see why Ingi kind of plays a character of who really cares and shows a little bit of effort literally at the end of the
Just
season.
enough.
So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's not super surprising, but definitely not what I expected.
Yeah, well, there's that, y'all. I mean, so I, I'm dropping the tea as I get it, as I always do, guys. You will have to keep tuning in as as I find out more tea in those social media streets. I'm going to bring it over here and let you know. Also, we'll be back next week to recap 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, the tell all, and we're really excited about that. So, guys, slide in the comments and let us know what you thought about the season. Like I said, I give it a 6. Big Nige a 6.5. Y'all let us know what you would rate it and what your thoughts are on the couples. I'm going to invite you guys back on Friday. I will be back with my guest co-host, my Bravo bestie Joey, and we'll be doing Real Housewives of Orange County reunion special part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, that episode dropped last Friday. It was a good time. He is new to the world of YouTube, and he did a phenomenal job. So check it out if you haven't seen it. Big Nige, as I always do. Oh, also, quick admin announcements. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit that like button. Like I said, slide in the comments, share, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet. You need to come on and join the Actualizer fam. Not a better place to be on YouTube than right here. So, with that being said, Big Nige, I'm going to give you a quick second to go ahead and plug your podcast, and then we're going to bid you guys a good night.
Yep. So of course you see right there, I'm Big Nige, co-host of the Goatcast podcast, where me and my other co-host CW, we have a good time over there. We talk basketball, topics past, present, and future. And we just recently dropped a video yesterday where we do our weekly live streams around 7:30, 8 o'clock. We usually put a little announcement on the channel. So yeah, come join us. We just talked about the in-season tournament that's coming up in the NBA. Their first games had just dropped yesterday, so we gave our thoughts on what this tournament is, if you're curious, and how each team stacks up against one another. So definitely come check us out. We got some more topics coming for you guys, and it's going to be a great time. We'd love to have you.
All right, so there you have it, guys. Any of my basketball fans out there, you need to go ahead and go check out Goatcast podcast. All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you join us back here next week for the Tell All Recap Part 1. Come back this Friday for all you Bravo fans out there for Real Housewives of Orange County recap of the reunion special Part 2. So you guys have a great night, and we'll see you then. All right. Bye.